Greetings, everyone. My name is Stephen Oostenbrugge, and I am the Executive Director of the Institute of Certified Professional Managers. Today, we're going to take part one of a two-part series talking about power. What does it mean? What types of power are there? And again, everything kind of revolves around how are you using it? In previous sessions, we talked about the decision-making. We talked about how to do that, the critical thinking, many different things associated with it. But it kind of revolves around this idea of what kind of authority do you have? Or in this instance, what kind of power do you have? So today we are going to talk about 3 of the 6 types of power. They are coercive, reward, and legitimate. So we're going to start with legitimate first. Okay, I'm going to kind of go in reverse order here a little bit. That's all right. So when we think about power, we have to think about what is it that managers or leaders have that people are either listening to them or not listening to them, in the case may be, or why would they? And the first one is the legitimate power, which I just mentioned. This is the concept that you have a title. I mean, it is almost as basic as that. If on your business card or on your door or on your plaque somewhere on your desk, you have this little, MGR behind your name or in the front of your name, or some form of title. You are the executive director. You are the manager. You're the supervisor. Whatever the case may be, you have a title. And because of that title, that gives you legitimate power over those who do not hold that title. Now, to be clear, there are other titles which will trump yours. All right. So in all instances of our world and our society and in the world of business, there's somebody that's potentially your boss. If that's true, we are referring to those that are underneath you, your subordinates. So those individuals who do not hold the same or lesser title than you have legitimate power over them. Simple as that. The second one, reward power. Now this is kind of unique. If I'm speaking, or if any of you out there are sales managers, you will get this, the idea of rewards. So it is the incentive. Do you remember previously that we spoke of intrinsic and extrinsic motivators? We talked about that intrinsic being that's something that's inside of you that says, I really want to do this, I want to accomplish something. And there's the extrinsic, this idea that says, hey, I'm doing this because I'm getting paid for it. Or I'm going to get paid, and that's why I'm doing it, however which way you're looking at it. This is the idea of reward power as well. So if I am a sales manager and I have salespeople underneath me, I might incentivize them by giving them rewards. Hey, you have a sales quota. You need to meet this quota by X date, and it has to be this amount. If you do that, you get a bonus. Or how about this? You reach your quota, your sales quota. It has to be done in a week. Means if you can reach that goal in a day, wow, you got 6 days off. See ya. Go golfing, go enjoy yourself, do whatever the case may be. That's a pretty good incentive to basically say, look, if I can work hard and I can achieve this goal, I can get something else from it, kind of an added value for doing something. That's a reward. And as a manager, you have the ability to utilize this to provide some form of extrinsic and maybe even that intrinsic value, that motivation to that employee to be able to achieve that. This is where we're going to start talking about communication in a different one. How do you know what those things are? But those are some 2 very easy ones. You have the title, you're legitimate, or you have the ability to provide some reward, some incentive to say, reach this and you get this. Not bad. And then comes coercive. Coercive is, I think, perhaps the most misunderstood and maybe even the most negative associated with the levels or different types of power. Most people will look at a coercive power and say that's the punishment. And it is. It's this idea that, look, I hired you, right? I'm the manager. I hired you as an employee. I expect you to work from this time in the morning till this time in the afternoon, or whatever times you're so designating. And if you don't come in to do the work during those times, I can fire you. Or I can provide some form of monetary withdrawals or something. I have the ability to punish you. It's a threat of non-compliance, so to speak. Now, it's unfortunate that people will look at the coercive power and realize that that might somehow be a bad thing. But in the world of management and in the world of business, you have expectations. Those expectations are that you've been hired to perform a certain job, task, or responsibility within the organization. And if you are not doing that, there's going to be probably coercive power that's going to come down on you, either from the managers themselves, from human resources, and from a host of other locations within the organization itself. If not even your customers, who might be complaining that they're not getting the service or product that they expected. And guess what? Once you start harming the organization, that organization is going to provide some form of threat to you saying, Steve, you better get this done, and if you don't, we're going to have to let you go. Now, that does not have to be a negative thing. That is another form of motivation. We look at these three levels of power and say, there's a motivational factor to them all. I have the title, so those employees, my subordinates, will look to me. There's some form of motivation that says somebody has the title, that when they say something, I should listen to that. The reward power, the idea that you have the ability, you have the authority to provide some form of reward to your subordinates, to give them a incentive to achieve something for the organization, which in fact benefits the organization because the goal has been met, and benefits the employee because they got the reward for it. And the last one, the coercive power, is kind of an expectation. I look at the coercive power as the expectation to why I go to work. Okay? Yes, I've been hired to do this particular job, this task, this responsibility. Yes, I will do that to the utmost of my ability, best of my ability. But if something goes wrong, there's consequences to that. And maybe they're not deliberate wrongs. If they are, that's a whole different story. Maybe they aren't, but at which case we can start talking about how the manager can help correct that, but kind of provide some guidance. And these three levels of power that we've only talked about today are three ways that you as managers can help your employees. With a certification from ICPM, you have the ability to, again, validate these responsibilities which you hold as a manager. Your employees look to you for the guidance. They look to you for help. They look to you for the skills and experiences which you have. They might not. So these levels of power are there to help both you and them. And by getting your certification from ICPM, that just validates it. It lets your employees know that, yes, my manager actually does know what he's talking about. He doesn't hold the title just because he did something for the boss, right? He doesn't know anything. He just has a title. Oh, we don't want that. We want the intrinsic and extrinsic motivation happening within our employees through the uses of power in a good way. Validate these at ICPM. Head on over to www.icpm.net and get your certification today.